Charlotte McLeod with the Investing News Network, and here today with me is Chris Evans, Managing Director at Winsome Resources. Thank you so much for joining me today at PDAC. Great to see you in person.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about lithium and the company today. I wondered if you could start off, for those who don't know, just a brief overview of the company and its key assets.
Yes, so we are listed on the, Winsome Resources is listed on the Australian Stock Exchange under the code WR1. And we actually listed only in November last year. And we listed with 3 lithium assets in the James Bay region of Quebec, Canset, Adina and Cermak. And each one of those is basically 1 year apart in terms of its exploration progress, I suppose. Canset's our main project. It's already had quite a bit of drilling done on it. Adina's had some drilling, and Cermak is the third project, which is more grassroots. Since listing, we've acquired 2 new projects further to the south, but still in Quebec. The 2 new projects they're in a very fertile area for lithium, and they're very near the towns of Val d'Or and Mazarac. And we think these 2 projects are highly prospective, and they offer us a new area in Quebec with which to explore lithium.
Okay, interesting. And so during this convention, you've released news assay results from Canset. I wondered if you could put those into context, tell us the highlights and how they fit into the overall work that the company is doing right now.
Yes, we yesterday released an ASX announcement that detailed most of the drilling results from a drilling campaign we did at Canset between mid-March and late April this year. The results have been at the lab, and there is still some there. There's a bit of a backup in labs at the moment, so the results take a while to come through. But this drilling program was designed to build upon previous drilling that had been done at Canset. And previously there was some fantastic results, 17 metres at 3.7% lithium oxide, which is a world-class result. We already know that high-grade area is there, and this drilling program we just did is designed to infill drill around those areas, increase our knowledge of the ore body, and also extensional drilling so that we extend the known pegmatites which host the lithium. And we really did achieve that. So we increased the strike length of our pegmatites from 600 metres to 1,200 metres directly as a result of this drill program.
Okay, and so operating in Quebec, that's the focus. Can you talk about the province's background as a lithium jurisdiction?
It's had a checkered history with lithium, Quebec has. Firstly, because of the Nemaska project, which, they went into administration. It's still a great project, and it's being developed by others now. Livent just purchased a majority share off Pallinghurst. And also the North American Lithium project, which Sayona now has purchased. That also fell on hard times a few years ago. So investors in Quebec, I think, are a little wary of lithium. But it's a great mining jurisdiction in general, and it's very supportive of the battery materials arena. Plus, it's got great infrastructure, and 99.8% of all power is hydroelectricity. So having a renewable source of energy for the production of our lithium will be extremely important in the future, given that Europe, for example, from 2025 onwards, is mandating that all batteries have a stamp on them that indicate their carbon footprint. So if you don't use a renewable source of energy to develop the chemicals for that battery, like the lithium, then you're going to limit the market into which you can sell your products after 2025. We've got roads passing right through, all-weather highways passing through our projects, as I say, power lines through there. And the government gives us 40% of all of our exploration expenditure back in tax credits. So it's a great place to be establishing a lithium project.
Yeah, and let's talk a little bit more about ESG, because I know it's important in the mining industry in general, but for lithium especially, as you were just explaining. So Quebec has the hydropower, and you mentioned this focus on making sure that the components of electric cars are actually green. So how, in a landscape where so many companies are doing everything they can to boost their ESG credentials, are you making sure that investors understand what you're doing?
I think the 2 major components at this stage given we're advanced exploration, the 2 components of ESG that we focus on is firstly the power, so the renewable power I often talk about, and I think that's fairly well known in Quebec. The other component is the First Nations people and dealing with the Indigenous people around our project areas. And at Canset, that's the Cree people from the Wemiji community. And the Wemiji community is about 150 kilometres from Canset, but we've made contact with them. They have a small subset village quite near our Canset project, and when they go there, we interact with them. We inform them what we're doing. Previously, we've used Cree contractors for some of our drilling, associated drilling activities. And so we're looking to develop that relationship even further and have some sort of written agreement with them from a very early stage. And I think that's, to me, a key component of our corporate governance.
Very good. I wondered if we could also talk about sentiment in the lithium space. So we've had high prices leveling off now. That's been good. It's been kind of a bright spot in the commodity space. We did have a couple of weeks ago the Goldman Sachs report telling us battery metals market is over for now. So, you've been here on the floor at PDAC. How are people feeling?
Most people just can't believe that Goldman Sachs report. And I think the general consensus is they made some assumptions that just aren't accurate in terms of the EV uptake and also the lithium compounds that are required for batteries and how they actually work and the stockpiles needed and the qualification times needed for lithium to get into batteries. And their analysts tend to be generalists rather than very focused on lithium. So despite that, I think that probably initiated a bit of a correction in the market, which may have been needed because lithium prices and most stocks were at all-time highs. There's definitely been that correction. But in terms of an oversupply, like Goldman Sachs are predicting, I haven't heard anyone agree with that since I've been here at PDAC.
Okay, very interesting. So obviously you're an ASX-listed company with assets in Canada. I would imagine that you want to reach Australian investors, but also an international audience. So I wondered if you could talk a little bit about that and if you're looking for retail or institutional investors when you get to that international scale.
I've been calling that specific set of circumstances, I've been calling almost a trifecta of success factors that we have. In that, as you pointed out, Canadian investors haven't quite woken up to battery materials in the way that Australian investors have, I don't think. So when we listed last year, we aimed to raise up to $18 million and we were offered well over $80 million, which is amazing support. And our share price, we listed at 20 cents and we went up to near 60 cents. We're now sitting a bit lower than that after the recent correction. But I don't think we would have got that support on the TSX yet. But we are aware that a listing on the TSX would benefit us at some point in the future, perhaps the next 18 to 24 months. And surprisingly as well, because we are focused over here, I spend quite a bit of time speaking to brokers and funds over here. And 60% of our shareholding is offshore from Australia, much of that in North America. So we are starting to reach the market over here with cognizant of the fact that our assets are here and eventually we'll look for a listing over here.
Right, and I wondered if you could talk, so there are ways for people here in Canada and North America to invest in ASX-listed companies. I wondered if you could talk a little bit about that process for people who might be interested in pursuing it.
The easiest way is probably to invest in us on the OTC QB market, which we have applied for. We applied about 5 months ago for that. Unfortunately, we're going through some regulatory issues, compliance issues. It seems they've tightened up their rules recently. But within the next month or so, we expect to be admitted onto the OTC. And I think that's the easiest way for North American investors to invest in Winsome until we get a formal listing over here.
Yeah, makes sense. So as we wrap up, I just wanted to get a quick look from you at the next 6 months into the end of 2022 for the company.
We have teams on the ground right now at Canset, 2 geological teams, so there's 1 or 2 geologists and 1 or 2 field assistants, and they're investigating all the targets that we've identified at Canset. We've identified them through geophysical surveys. We've got 395 claims, almost 20,000 square kilometres at Canset. It's a huge area there on the ground. As they start identifying targets that require drilling, we'll get a drill rig on site towards the end of the northern summer. And also we're doing a stripping and clearing of the known pegmatites, which we've already drilled, to do some field mapping and work out where our next drilling in that area should be. And really all of that's working towards a maiden resource in the first quarter of 2023. So Canset's really busy. We're also diverting those teams where we can onto Adina, our second project, which has been drilled. We know there's great grades of lithium there, but really it's finding more resources apart from that focus on Canset to develop our other projects.
Perfect. Thank you so much for coming by to share about the company and also what's going on in the lithium market.
It's been a pleasure to be here. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And once again, I'm Charlotte McLeod with the Investing Network, and this is Chris Evans with Winsome Resources.